Dice stacking, a skill pioneered by German bartenders to impress their guests. It's useless, but impressive. And because that's kinda my thing, I thought it would be perfect for me to try and learn. And while finding out what's really possible in the world of dice stacking, I came across this video from Patrick Kern, the dice stacking goat, that turned my interest into necessity. That one. I want to learn that one. The only problem is that I have zero experience, so I'm definitely not ready to take on that kind of challenge. So I found 3 increasingly difficult challenges, all to get me prepared for what I'm dubbing as the death stack. So let's get started with challenge number 1. The first skill I want to learn is stacking 4 dice on top of each other, like this. Even though this was my first time trying this, I felt very confident. The videos make it look super easy. And in just a couple of minutes, I was really starting to understand it. That's good though. And that's because really early on, I figured out something vital to my progression. There's like a tempo to it. You hit 1, 2, 3, you hit 1, 2, 3, you hit 1, 2, 3, you know? And even after finding my rhythm and even getting a new cup, actually stacking the dice still felt impossible. Now what? But I did remember something. I've seen him do this on the thing. So maybe I'll try that. A bit cryptic of an explanation, but this discovery was the last piece to the puzzle. Oh! No, that was actually so close. They were still stacked inside of the cup. And for me, this little change made all the difference. At least when I wasn't sabotaging myself. I'm actually feeling, I don't even know what I was thinking of. But I knew I was getting close. While getting this close was a little bit painful, it was also the exact motivation I needed. And just 30 seconds later, I did this. I learned this in no time at all, but it's done with a lot of wasted movement. And that's why challenge number 2 is all about doing it clean and fast, by picking up and stacking the dice with the least amount of movement possible. And on my first attempt, I was already feeling confident. This is gonna be so easy. And on my third attempt of challenge number 2, I did this. So that was easy too. Maybe I'm just a natural. But these challenges aren't even comparable to the death stack. So I really shouldn't speak too soon. I'm actually a natural, bro. Ain't nobody can stop me, I'm too We'll see how long this confidence lasts, because it's time for the next challenge. This is where it actually gets hard. The challenge is to get a stack of 4 and then stack another stack of 4 on top of the previous one. And still feeling confident from the last challenge, I got started. And realized that this was going to be a lot harder than I expected. And after failing over and over and over and over and over again, and then some more, last one, I realized that maybe I spoke a little too soon. Man, this is hard. I think I spoke a little too soon, man. For whatever reason, I was struggling to make a normal stack, let alone stacking one on top of the other. I needed to make a change, so I got a new cup. The other one had like a weird hexagon shape. This one is just normal. After getting a new cup, I practiced the part of this challenge that was giving me the most difficulties. I've always found that when learning skills like this, it always helps to just focus on the hardest part of the movement, then go back and implement what you learned with the full motion. Something that I was a little late to do in a future challenge. But we'll get back to that later. Even though none of these landed, it still made me feel as though this was much more possible. At this time, I also re-watched one of the GOAT's videos, and I realized that his cup looks different than mine. So after comparing cups, I realized that mine is too long. And after cutting off the unnecessary length, I felt much more confident about completing this challenge. Now that I'm feeling much more confident about my cup size, it's time to get back to some attempts. And after my first few attempts, things were looking promising. Money. And in under 5 minutes, I was able to get this attempt. Oh, there we go. Okay. Please. Yo, I can't count that. I know it's there, but I can't count that. I don't feel good about myself counting that. Replay the clip. You can see I pushed it a little bit. I had to readjust. It just doesn't, I feel like I cheated. So I'm gonna redo it. And almost immediately, I regretted saying that. But soon, I found my rhythm again. And was able to get an attempt that I was satisfied with. That one counts. That counts. Let's go. The small cup was the key. On to the next challenge. Let's go. With challenge 3 complete, that means the time has finally come for me to face my biggest challenge yet, the death stack. So the goal of this challenge is to move these top 4 dice and place it on top of this other stack in one clean movement. So, like that. One step closer to the death stack. This one could take forever, or I could get it like on the first try. Oh no, this one's gonna take a long time. And a long time it did. I'll save you the headache and the countless attempts I did. I'm not talking minutes, I'm not talking hours, I'm talking days. Hundreds, if not thousands of attempts. So instead of showing you tons of attempts, I'm just gonna give you the most important and influential moments as time goes on. Starting with hour 1. Maybe it's good to go out, and then by the time you get here, it'll spin down. In my head, it'll do that. Ooh. You know, this isn't going that well, but every single time I'm getting dice in with this stack. They aren't landing at all, but I'll take what I can get. I learned a lot in the first hour, and I still felt that I could get this done relatively quickly. This was my best attempt in hour 1. Oh, yes. That is so close. That's like so close but so far at the same time. I rewatched some of the footage in between hour 1 and hour 2. So while looking at the cup, what I see is that it stays on this side of the cup. So when I go like this, they just fly out. I have to get this motion and get them to slide around and then land. You see, you gotta invest. Even if you know you're not going to succeed, you have to invest in some like attempts. You know, you gotta try stuff, even if you know it's not gonna work. Oh yeah, it's that turn, baby. And this was my best attempt in hour 2. No! While these were good attempts, they were painfully misleading. Because at the start of hour 3, and I'm hoping that this is the time, I really felt like I was right there. Hopefully this time I get it. Little did I know how wrong I was. I really tried hard to finish this challenge in hour 3, but most of my attempts ended up looking like this. Or this. It's really just a lot of going once, having to get up, fetch the dice, and then do it again. And I was really starting to get frustrated. Oh man, mainly because it all feels the same. And what I mean by it all feels the same is that this is a very small and pretty fast movement. I was recording at 30 frames a second, and if we start counting the frames right here, it's less than half of a second. This paired with the fact that dice will bounce off of each other even when it's lined up well, makes the whole process very precise, as well as the motion that I'm doing is causing the dice to move in a circular motion. So trying to implement any new movements is very unforgiving, but at the end of the day, the death stack ain't gonna stack itself. Price I gotta pay. So let's get back to it. The most interesting thing that happened in hour 3 was this. And in hour 4, I was actually starting to make progress on my technique. I think maybe I have to put more. I kind of have to like whip it to the back of the cup. And this was my best attempt. And in hour 5, I finally started doing attempts inside. And this was actually a giant breakthrough because I could do an attempt, rewatch the video, make a change, and try again. And slowly, I could tell that my attempts were getting better, with this being my best attempt of hour 5. And I spent all of hour 6 trying a different method of practice. Nothing crazy happened, but you can tell that my movements are way smoother and faster, something I should have done a long time ago. And while going for attempts in hour 7, I noticed that there was something wrong with my cups. 1, the surface wasn't flat, and 2, it's like the bounciest surface ever. Finding this out after 7.5 hours of doing this was only mildly frustrating. What? Nothing tape can't fix, but don't worry, it's not the sticky side. And this was my best attempt for hour 7. This is painfully close, especially when you consider that I did another 2 hours worth of attempts before completing this challenge. Moving into hour 8. Hour 8 is more of the same, except instead of wanting this challenge to be over 5 hours ago, now it's 6. But it is really cool to see how much progress I've made, from barely being able to keep the dice in the cup to doing this every couple of minutes. And as tradition, this is the best attempt from this hour. Yes! That's 2! That's progress, baby. That is progress. I could tell I was nearing the end of this challenge. I could also feel it. I must say, being 8 hours into a challenge and not knowing if you have another 8 hours or another 10 minutes left is a little unmotivating. But I was about to get something that was going to change everything. I have got more dice. This is how I wanted to have it set up previously, but I didn't have enough dice. And so, I bought more. At the time, I didn't think another set of dice would change anything. But what I didn't know is that my suffering was about to come to an end. It's done! After 9 hours of attempts, over the course of 3 days, I finally got this attempt. No fucking way. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. No way. That's like actually on there. I gotta rewatch that. And after rewatching that, I can confidently say that the death stack has been properly defeated. No more. That was like 10 hours. 10 hours of just the same thing over and over and over again. No more. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. If you made it this far, consider subscribing. I got more things like this coming out very soon.